One of the, if not the most common question I get in the general public and from my members is something along the lines of, how do I get rid of this? So that's what we're going to talk about today. Spot reduction is the conversation we're going to have. So stay tuned. This is going to be a whiteboard discussion. So first and foremost, let's get this whiteboard cleaned up through magic. Welcome back to another video, everybody. If you're new, thanks for tuning in. If you're returning, thanks for coming on back. Let me give you a tour of the gym real quick and explain to you what we got going on. This is Spartan Fitness. I have owned this place for 16 years. This is my training facility where I walk people through group training in the format of high intensity interval training, high intensity steady straight training, low intensity steady state training, hypertrophy training, and powerlifting in order to get people stronger. This has been my passion project for 16 years now, this place and these people in this community. I have helped people lose thousands of pounds in the past. I have people put on hundreds of pounds of muscle in the past, and this is what I do. This is almost all I do. I also own a health food restaurant where we specialize in high protein, whole food options to assist them with their fitness goals. And the whole spot reduction thing is a conversation that we have to have because it is a common question. People approach me in the community sometimes. Oh, hey, you're that fitness coach. I got a question for you. How do I get rid of this? It's very common, and I don't think it's a dumb question at all. When I first started my fitness journey over 100 pounds ago, I used to think that I could do crunches to get my abs to appear just like anybody else. But how silly would that have been if that worked? What if you can just work the abs and get the fat from on top of the abs to disappear and the rest of your body is still fat as shit? It wouldn't make sense even if it did work. But it doesn't work, and we're going to talk about why. And then I'm going to give you better strategies to actually lose fat without thinking that you can spot reduce. So hopefully you didn't blow the video here. Spot reduction is a myth. There's no way to do it. And let me just give you a personal example real quick. This is a picture of me 100 pounds ago. Look at the face of this person. Do you see the difference in my face now? Look at the head even. The head was bigger. The head had fat on it. How many face, neck, and head exercises do you think that I had to do in order to lose weight here? The answer is none. There was no exercises I did to get all this fat off of this face. It's called a caloric deficit, and you have to do it consistently over a long period of time while prioritizing a high protein intake so your body doesn't lose muscle while in a caloric deficit. Let's talk more about it on the whiteboard. Fat loss occurs when you burn more calories than you consume. So creating an overall calorie deficit is the goal. Your body draws on fat stores from various parts for energy, and this process is largely genetic and hormonal. Let's take this fella right here. Look at this artistry. I know it's very basic, but you're gonna get the point with this. Let's just say you have an overweight dude right here, and the majority of weight is going to be in the center, and that's for a reason. Weight comes off from the ends of your extremities first, because that's where the least amount of fat is stored, and then there's a circle that works its way down, and the last place you're going to lose fat for men is going to be right here. So if we draw a circle around the legs and head, this circle is going to shrink and shrink until the last little bit is that belly fat right there. Now the body does this for a very important reason. Your body wants to store fat fairly evenly, but centric around the core, and that's for this purpose. For survival reasons, our ancestors would not have survived to the point where we are today unless this happens. Because if you stored all your body fat down in your right leg, you'd have to drag this leg around and you wouldn't be able to escape predators and you wouldn't be able to chase down prey. The most appropriate place to carry the majority of your fat is around your core because that's the center of gravity, so you can still move around appropriately when you just have a little weight around your core. Now, the problem is most people nowadays have a lot of weight everywhere, not just a little weight around the core. But this is how we lose weight. It's a circle and it works its way in. And that is why I don't wear a wedding ring, because When I got married, my fingers were sausages and the ring no longer fits. And since I have my hands on the barbell or a dumbbell, a lot of the times I would ruin any ring. And I tried the rubber rings, but they usually wear out in a few months, so I just don't wear one. I think though, as basic and dumb as this drawing is, it is going to illustrate the fact that we do lose weight from our extremities first. It goes in from our hands and feet and head, and then it ends at our core. Now, working the muscles in the core as a strategy to lose fat on the abs is a very poor technique, because what we have to do to lose weight is an all-around caloric deficit, which means consuming less calories than what you burn on a daily basis. And that's going to force your body to use its stored energy for fuel, or use your body fat for fuel. Now, working the abs, which is a very small muscle group, does not put you in a caloric deficit. You can work your abs for hours every day to the point where you're breaking down the tissues because they can't handle that volume of training, and it's still not going to be a high calorie requirement that's going to put you in a caloric deficit. And that's why when you want to lose fat, you got to remove the calories from your diet. And yes, training does help, but the number one thing to do is remove calories from your diet. Let's go over some real life effective strategies for reducing your overall percentage of body fat, starting with number one, calorie deficit. Now, I have several videos on diet. I'm going to link one here. Maybe I'll link one here. And maybe I'll link one here. Make sure you check those out. They're going to show you how to break down your calories and macronutrients in order to put yourself in a caloric deficit. But this is the number one strategy, because you can remove 500 calories from your diet every day. And if theoretically there are 3,500 calories in every pound, this is going to cause you to lose a pound a week roughly. Now, as you lose weight, you're required to eat less calories. And that's the other kicker. The smaller you are, the less calories you need, because a calorie is a unit of heat, and the majority of our metabolism is responsible for maintaining a consistent body temperature. So when you have less shit to keep warm, you're required to consume less calories. So a 500 calorie deficit needs to be reduced from your overall calorie requirements, which are going to change as you lose weight. So that's something that needs to be constantly monitored, but check out my other videos for that. Number two is strength training. It's important to lift heavy weights. And I know heavy is a relative term, and it's going to mean something different for you than what it means for me. But building muscle through resistance training increases your metabolic rate, which means you burn more calories at rest. The most effective strategy other than diet is actually just building as much muscle as you can. That muscle is going to require more calories. As you lose fat and you reduce your caloric needs on a daily basis, you can start to build muscle once you're at the end of your fat loss. That's going to increase your calorie demands, which it makes it easier to lose weight, because now you're burning more calories while you're awake, while you're asleep, while you're at work, while you're home. While you're doing anything, you're going to burn more calories when you have more muscle. I also have several videos on how to do that as well, so go ahead and check those out. Number three is cardiovascular exercise. The cool thing about cardiovascular exercise is when you do it right, it doesn't interfere with your strength training. And this is called low, slow cardio, or zone 2 cardio. I have several videos on that as well. The thing about cardiovascular exercise that's cool is you can do as much of it as you have time for. And if you stick in the right zone, you're not going to burn up a bunch of muscle doing it. And it's going to increase your daily calorie expenditure, which is awesome. Speaking of which, what would be the point of losing fat if you didn't extend your life? Cardiovascular exercise has been shown to reduce your all-cause mortality, and it's important because a healthy heart is the most important muscle on your body. So making a healthy heart through cardiovascular exercise is awesome. So let's focus on doing some of that. Number four is consistency, because it doesn't matter if you do these things sometimes, it matters what you do most of the time. If you go out really hard and really heavy and it's not sustainable and you burn out in just a few weeks, then you don't have a chance. You should spend a solid year or 2 years, depending upon how much weight you have to lose, doing these things. Now, you don't have to be perfect, but you do have to be consistent. So sticking with a schedule where you have a regular calorie deficit combined with strength training and cardiovascular exercise, then the last thing to throw in there is consistency. Last thing we're going to talk about today is monitoring your progress. It's really important. You got to be accountable to something, whether that's the scale or circumference-based measurements or performance indicators like how fast you run a mile or how much you squat, bench press, deadlift, whatever it might be. But you got to have metrics there. And I have a video on how to stay motivated also, if you want to check that out. These are going to be the 5 things that are effective strategies for reducing body fat. And something to consider also is that setting up your environment to be successful and choosing a social circle that's going to be conducive for your success is also really important. The chances of you making it very far, if you have a spouse that's eating pizza and ice cream next to you every night, it's probably not going to work. You're probably going to eat what they eat and just start looking, feeling, and performing how they do, which isn't a good thing. So consider getting everybody on board with you in this process, and that's going to make things a lot easier. And I know this is coming from somebody in a fitness bubble. I spend all my time in a gym coaching people. The times that I'm not here, I'm spending in a health food restaurant feeding people well. So I do live in a bubble, but I created this bubble for my long-term success, and I created this bubble to where anybody can enter the bubble if they want to and have a higher chance of success. But you do have to get your spouse on board, and you do have to start hanging out with the right people at your job. Otherwise, the chances of you being consistent are probably slim to none. So the hardest part about this whole thing is the overall lifestyle change that's necessary in order for you to be consistent with this stuff long term. Let's summarize. Spot reduction is a myth. You can't target the triceps to lose fat on the triceps. That's not how fat loss works. If you're in a caloric surplus, it doesn't matter how much training you're doing, you're going to continue to gain weight. You have to be in an overall calorie deficit for a long enough period of time for you to have measurable fat loss. Now, while losing fat, you want to increase the muscle mass that you have, which is where strength training comes in, because if you're just in an arbitrary caloric deficit without training, your body's going to take muscle, thereby reducing your metabolic rate long term and increasing your risk for sarcopenia, osteoporosis, and the list of diseases go on, including diabetes. Cardiovascular training is great. There's a certain minimum you have to do just to maintain a healthy heart, and it doesn't interfere with your strength training because the intensity is so low. When thinking about these 3 things, think about consistency and doing whatever it takes to maintain a consistent routine so that you're constantly showing up for yourself, doing the things that you need to do. Monitor your progress somehow. Get on the scale or do circumference measurements of your biceps, your chest, your abs, your hips, whatever the area you're trying to reduce. Mainly consider that it comes from head to toe. So doing a lot of measurements is always beneficial. And then overall lifestyle. You got to be with the people who are moving forward. If you're surrounded by people who are shitting the bed regularly, the chances of you making progress are slim to none. So consider all these things. Make sure you go and check out the rest of my videos. If you like this video, please hit that like button on the video. Give me a comment on what you want to see in the future. I'm trying to get these videos out, but as you guys know, there is an algorithm on YouTube, and that algorithm decides how many people it's going to put these videos in front of. So the more comments, the more likes, the more shares this video gets, the more YouTube is going to put my videos in the future in front of more people. And I don't want the good that I can render to be limited by my physical reach. So YouTube is my way to get some help out there to the masses, as well as be more detailed in subjects for my gym members. So that's what this is about. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.